Hey everybody, welcome back to Sister Brunch with me, Fanshen Cox, and my gorgeous, talented, smart Anya Adams. We have this great guest today on our show. Her name is Jenise Whitehead. She's a digital utility and film loader. Raise your hand, make a comment if you even know what that is. Now, she learned this trade through Panavision's 2-year program in 2016. And since then, Jenise has worked on many shows, including Insecure on HBO and also the Netflix show Gentefied, which is also doing really well. Jenise got her first taste of the business when she co-directed a movie called Gideon's Cross as part of the Outfest Outset program. So look at how you can get started. Somebody who didn't even go to film school, okay? She did not go to film school. And not only did she not go to film school, she didn't have anybody in her family that had a background in anything that had to do with Hollywood. She's a talented musician. And she studied Spanish in college, which, you know, I'm kind of excited about because I did too. That was my major in undergrad. Jenise considered careers in both fields, but all of that changed when she got into the Outfest program in LA. And so she's going to tell us all about that. We talked to Jenise last summer. And we were actually in Anya's apartment. We got to cover all kinds of subjects, like how to advocate for yourself when you're kind of new to the game in Hollywood, and how she ended up improving her earning power. Just before that, though, Jenise is going to start by telling us how her career goals changed after she spent a year abroad in España. Here we go.
I came back home and said, okay, I either want to see what the music industry is like, what TV is like, and film. Because I thought TV and film were more separate, like with features and TV.
Yeah.
So I just want to just kind of float. So I had gone, because I missed Pride in Madrid. I missed Pride in San Francisco, LA. I was like, okay, like let me just go to this film festival, Outfest of Los Angeles.
Yeah, cool.
At least they'll have like queer films, maybe some queer films of color. The one I really remember was the Alice Walker, Beauty and Truth. And they had Ava DuVernay moderate. And I remember I had just heard of her because she had done Sundance maybe a year or two before.
Yes, cool.
And so I really didn't know what she was about yet. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it was like, okay, like, you know, you keep reading. Like I was abroad, you're reading about people talk about, you know, a new renaissance and this and that creatively. Yeah. And like we grew up right like down the street from Leimert. You know, it's kind of full circle in that way. That's like, if I'm watching this documentary with this black woman that's talking about her queerness and her womanhood, and also her southern roots and walking through, you know, the house she grew up in. Did you see a documentary?
No.
Like she's walking in her childhood home, and like she's trying to describe, you know how writers talk. Writers can talk about their characters like they're sitting right next to them. And so she has like all the ghosts to her characters in this house. And as she's looking at the wallpaper, she's talking about how back when she grew up, her mom had basically taken like paper bags and made wallpaper out of it. Wow. And the house was condemned, but you're seeing the basically the brown paper bag still peeling off the walls in the house. And so when I was there, they introduced this program by basically being like, if you're between the ages of 16 and 24 and you're young and queer, if you just want to make a film, come make it with us. And so I was like, okay, wow. I'm broke. And so I applied, and then when I got in, somebody said, do they know that you don't know how to make a film? Like, do they know that? And I was like, yeah, they know that. They like, and they still want you. I'm like, that's what they said. And so we went there, we made a film.
Okay, can you, what do you think was in your application that really, you know, spoke to them?
Well, I just kind of spoke about who I was and the kind of images I want to see. Some of my friends saying, like, we're like, yeah, we've never been closeted, but when you grow up in South LA, this looks different. Yeah. Your family knows, but it's still a certain way that you even have those conversations, just the approach. It's just different. And so I did that film, and I just kept basically.
When you say you did that film, what did you do?
What did
what exactly did you do?
Y'all like the memoirs.
We want to know, Jenise. We want to know.
So, one of my partners they hooked me up with in the program, his name is Damone Williams. He wrote this short film. So where they put us together, you break up in groups, kind of like it was modeled after Film Independence Project Involved. Great. Okay. You take 15 people, break them up in groups. Somebody's a writer, somebody's a director, and the other person a producer or setback. His script was about what would it look like if the thing, which was AIDS in his film, that the society tells you is the monster, the beast, or this really evil, like fear-mongering thing. What if it's a thing that actually saves your life? It was a short film playing with those elements about queerness and sci-fi and like hella black. Like
That's awesome.
that's the film that we made. It's called Gideon's Cross.
Nice.
We made it in 2014.
Yes.
Hey, it's Anya, and you're listening to Sister Brunch. We'll be right back.
Join our community. You can join us on Twitter at Sister Brunch and also on Instagram at Sister Brunch Podcast.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Sister Brunch. This is Anya Adams. Let's get back to our conversation.
Our guests know how to do more than just the thing that they're coming on here to
To talk about, yeah.
And that means everything. I mean, it means, first of all, racism because we have to, right?
Yeah,
like, we
necessity.
have to know all of it, right? But also, it makes you better at the job that you
And we talk about
came
that
here
a
to
lot,
talk
like
about.
how like the job you may currently have may be the quote unquote entry level, but you have to go through so many more steps than somebody's nephew who just happened to be unemployed at the time. And it's really aggravating when you see it, you know, you don't want to get distracted by it. And it's like,
I get distracted.
you know what film is? You know, film is we think like dog is, right? Like you're not a model, you won't age out. If anything, you're supposed to get more seasoned.
Right.
But at the same time, I've only been at it for 5 years, and you see people who just don't even try, and they're the one that's hiring you as a day player. And it's like really aggravating because it's like, you know, you want to push them out, but at the same time, you want to be humble, like, okay, well, I'm new in film years, like, let me take my time with it. But at the same time, they got to go.
Okay, so you did this film,
Yeah, I did the film.
and you probably got a taste of filmmaking.
I got a little taste of it, a little bit of how, at least how, like a student film, like short, like will work, those sets will run. And so I kind of put the word out with the mentor I had at the time, the one that shot the film, named Terry Siegel, and now she DPs TV. At the time, she was doing music videos and such, and she just doing her own thing. So I was like, listen, I want to get into filmmaking. And one of her biggest piece of advice to me was, unless you go back, like where I went to school, it's called Columbia College, Chicago. She was like, I would really try to just get on sets, like maybe it's like an AFI set here, just help out somewhere there, just shadow, like, you can come shadow me. Like, I don't care. Just basically just get your feet wet. Yeah. And then somebody else said, well, you know, my brother's a first AC. I was like, I don't even know what that is. Right. And they're like,
what is a first AC?
If you have you had an 8 camera first AC.
Yeah. So AC is assistant camera. Right? Yeah.
If you have your 8 camera first AC, they're the ones that have the operators back when it comes to building their camera, but also the DPs back when it comes to managing the whole department. So managing staffing, managing gear, and also managing bills, managing setups. When they're doing rehearsals, they're the ones calling out how we're building. So when they call for camera, we just roll right in.
When you say building, you mean like we need this lens on the camera?
Yeah, we need this lens. We need 40 on sticks, make them standard, some rolling spreaders.
Slow down for 1 second so we can talk about that. So on your phone, if you're interested in camera lenses, you can buy an app called Artemis. There's also an app called CAD Rage, and they have all the different lenses and all the different cameras on it, so you can pair them together depending on what you're working with.
You take stills with it.
And take stills with it, and
you
mini
can put
videos,
your phone, not like you can put the camera's info into the phone. So if you're shooting on a Alexa Mini, you could put that in there. You're shooting on optimal lenses, you could put those in there. That's the thing that's crazy with cameras, that technology changes. Like we always say every 6 months, but it's even quicker than that.
Hey, that's what I was going to ask you about that too, because obviously the job of a focus puller must have changed drastically and continues to with digital,
because
right?
even what you focus pull with, you can use like a system like Preston Systems, which is one way of doing it. It's kind of like the legacy way of doing it. Or you can use the new technology that they have for like how the Arri WCU4. It just depends on what you prefer also. Okay, C-Motion has it. It's basically all these different manufacturers. Yeah. Some of them make cameras and accessories. Some of them only make accessories.
Let's back up for a second. Okay. And if I'm watching you on set I come on set and there you are. Tell us where you are on set and what I do. What you do if I'm watching you physically.
Right now I'm working as a film loader. So if you see me on set, nowadays the way staff is that sometimes I do utility work as well, which is running Village. So my first concern is making sure everyone can see. To me,
this is Video Village, where people are able
where producers are able to sit and watch the content, able to give notes and feedback. They sit there with their sound comms so they can hear audio as well as seeing the picture.
Right, so they're usually separated from the set, but not that far.
Not too
and you
far.
got
You want
wires
to keep them as
running
close as possible, but a good enough distance where they can discuss what's happening.
Okay.
I guess fast forward with the story is that when that first AC basically told me, if I hire you right now, kid, I'm going to fire you before lunch. So the best thing you can do for yourself is I put in a good word for you at Panavision Hollywood where I always go prep. At the time, he was a first AC, always working for this one DP who always got to Panavision Hollywood. And he said they have this 2-year program there that's unadvertised, only paper applications. And if you just keep calling them nonstop, like they'll hire you, but just drop my name. And I was being naive then, like I don't want to just drop somebody's name. You know, like
I'm good myself.
But I was calling them from March until Labor Day, and after every major holiday, kept telling me call back. And then when I finally dropped his name, I said, "Oh, you should have just said that."
Which is such an important thing about Hollywood. Is how important.
Yeah, it took 6 months because it's like call back after Memorial Day, call back for July.
Swallow your pride sometimes.
And just drop the name. Because you're so afraid of being that person that's pulling that card or using that nepotism. I just should have just dropped the name. At least it would have got me interviewed sooner. They use their referrals to be able to sift through the pile because she would have probably like 300 applications. To at least get the interview, it's easier for them to pull you out the stack because they have like a heavy workload out the day, every day.
The name matters.
So you went and got experience there with the intent to come back to work on set.
Exactly.
But being at Panavision, you learned all about the practicalities of camera. So you probably made yourself very invaluable in the sense that whatever show you worked on that was connected to Panavision, you knew how to repair those cameras, you knew all those kind of things. Is that
use it as a calling card in that way because if they can trust you, it's just all about building trust. If they can trust you in the rental house to be able to get the thing they asked for immediately, because they're having their DPs giving them changes all day long. The DP may go like at 2 p.m. if they've almost prepped like majority of stuff. Hey, actually, I think I want to do this instead. Well, now you got to flip all that stuff and get them everything they need. And so it's just a building a game of trust because working at Panavision takes you away from set.
Right.
So I was one of those kids who didn't go to film school, didn't have experience on set, only knew about 3 people just from like the little experience I had with Outset. And so it's kind of like, well, now I hope those people can trust me to bring me on set and not have to learn set. Which is a whole different beast.
Which is a whole new world,
different beast.
Right.
And I did have a few people who liked me, but DP named Polly Morgan, and I said she was the first one to give me a job out the gate. And she was the one like told me like, hey, like you don't have a job leaving? I said no, because a lot of people finish the program early, having a TV show, or movie, or something. And I was like, no, not yet. You know, like trying to be hopeful, like you know, like hopefully, you know, I work hard. Somebody's got to call, like you know, just being patient for it. And she was like, well, I got this Netflix thing, like. Basically, like, come be my B camera second. Well, actually, you're in 600 as a loader. Just come, like, they play with us. 600 is the union. Okay. With IATSE.
And how did you get into the union?
Working at Panavision gives you that camera background, but you don't have your days yet. So they have a position that's utility, so it's not rostered. And at least then they had 3 different rosters with commercial, TV, and then industry experience. And so one of the guys who just finished, they were just like, well, listen, join this utility. You don't have to pay the $5,000 up front, but you do have to pay a deposit. And the rest is broken down to payments, no interest.
And it's $5,000 in total, or once you get in?
For the position.
Okay, but then once you move up?
You do pay dues, and you pay the difference as you move up. Okay. But at least the baseline is join this utility, $5,000. Okay. And so one of the guys said, okay, well, you know a lot of people based on people who finish here, who are working on their shows, so you know what shows all your friends are on. And then you know what shows that your mentors or your future bosses will be on because you helped them prep.
Right.
So then he basically told me, make an Excel sheet. And I still struggle with Excel, but at least I had them online. You know?
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, these are the friends I know that are working in my position that are out already. And these are the people who are ACs who could hire me. And these are shows that they're going to be on. So I basically blasted everyone, said, this is my end date at Panavision. If you ever just need an extra hand, I'm already 600.
You're listening to Sister Brunch. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more of our conversation with Jenise Whitehead.
Hey, welcome back to Sister Brunch. I'm Fanshen Cox, and now back to our conversation. I'm going to bring this up because we're seeing some recurring themes in our stories, and I think they're important. And you talked about why you were able to kind of move up and people wanted to work with you again, which is that you were pleasant to work with and for real, like, and And it's tough too because there can be pleasant and then folks can also walk all over you.
That's
like how do you
still.
And especially in this industry when you don't look like anybody else who's there, right? So like how do you walk that line between being somebody who is pleasant to work with and you know that they enjoy being around, but at the same time standing your ground if you're being, you know, abused?
Yeah, it's been difficult. One thing I've learned is like that you do have to advocate for yourself. And starting out, that was the hard part. You know, people say, just be sweet. And you think that would carry, and it just doesn't. Right. And it's also choosing the ACs who will also back you up when they see that's starting to happen. Because with the hierarchy of it, with my position, everyone else is my boss. Really going to the job, thing I had to learn was picking the ACs who didn't have that kind of personality from the old way they did camera. They treat their loaders like a personal assistant. Okay. But then also find the ACs who advocate for you as well, who actually had that like authoritative power to be able to say, okay, no, that's not how we're going to run this department this year or whatever. So it's been difficult. I wouldn't say I've mastered that yet. It's still like one of those things because if I get aggravated or agitated or whatever, even if it's like rightfully so, based on appearances, you know, you're going to be that angry black bitch. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just one of those things that I'm still working on. That's like, how do I balance being kind and also considerate and it not be a thing that basically be like, I want AC tell me, oh, Janise's amazing, she'll do it without even asking.
I feel like it's very difficult, and especially in positions like you're in where you are on the bottom of the totem pole. Right. It doesn't matter about the camera department or the rest of the crew. You are looked upon as the bottom of the totem pole. So there's a lot of
that's
stress
the crazy
with
thing with that, because it's like when it comes to authority and who has the right to say what, sometimes you'll see, at least within my department, you'll have a certain hierarchy that is so old school. It's like belittling in a lot of ways. But then you'll see the creator of a show go make their own play. But then you'll have this AC tell you they don't like a certain sauce. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's still bizarre. And I feel like it's changing, but not fast enough.
Yeah.
And we know when you become the DP.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to be that way.
We know how you'll be
when you I don't even let people now. Because sometimes now, like, if a PA is really green and they see that you're hustling, at the end of the day, you're still union. You're still a PA, try to do things for you because they want to like maybe get to you, and I'm still like no, I can throw away my own trash and get my own water. Like it's just you don't have to haze people to be able to give them the information they need to go forward.
Let's talk about salary.
Oh yeah.
When I first left Panavision, I was only making about like $20,000 a year. I basically penny pinched, and I was at a deficit by putting certain expenses on credit cards, and then putting the rent and stuff on cash, or like splitting the check by being like, okay, the first check of the first half of the month is going to go towards all these other expenses, but I'm going to save about half of that because the second check at the end of the month is going to go towards all the rent. And so then first year out, it ended up doubling. It was about like maybe like 55 or something thousand. And then last year, it doubled from that, and I made over 6 figures.
How did that work?
It was a number of shows I took because Panavision was 9 to 5, and I finished that in the fall. So I had like a pretty slow winter. And then I got my first, I guess, big break with TV with Insecure Season 2. After that, I said, okay, I never really had a non-union career. I only had those 6 months between Panavision and Insecure Season 2 to just kind of date play with union stuff and then do some like non-union commercials just to get my feet wet. And then after Insecure, I never did another non-union job unless it was a favor for somebody. Because I just told myself in that moment, okay, if I do this well, the right people will notice and they'll bring me on to the next thing. And I did one more show that year in the fall based on a recommendation from someone. And then that fall-winter job carried over to spring. I did another job back-to-back, did a summer job back-to-back, and I took the winter off last year. So it was just kind of like,
you know what?
I just,
I can actually take some time
exactly.
off now.
That's another thing I had to learn too.
Taking time off.
Yeah, taking time off and not being afraid if you take that time off, someone won't call you for the next one.
Right. Because it is kind of scary in this industry when you are working kind of like project to project. Like you always feel like you need to have that next job to stay relevant.
And people be asking you before you even rap, you be a month from rapping, and people are like, so who you going with next? Who's hiring? Who's calling you? Where's your DP?
Yeah.
How'd you deal with that constant pressures?
Twitter.
Twitter?
Because they had this group on there called Black Creatives, and it's all about that. You guys see, you know about it.
Yes.
Where it's kind of like people forget to talk about like the spiritualism of freelance work and about how much of it is not only investing in yourself, but just trusting that the good will pay off.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of what it was with money, because I at least told myself that, okay, if I work hard enough, like the money will follow, because I chase the money, I'm gonna work with people I don't like or don't treat me well or just aren't like operating like on the same morale. So at least what I told myself, and it's been paying off in that way, to say, okay, well, now I'm not at a deficit. Now I can save. Now I can invest. Now I can do things differently.
Do you feel like you had to do the Panavision program to be able to get into where you are
definitely
versus
do.
like some other person who knows?
White man.
Yeah.
Some white
I talked
man.
about that on one of my shows when I felt like I was treated pretty poorly last summer. And one of the ACs who told me, I want you to know that you're not just basically a person who just go fetch stuff. You're not just a runner.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, like how we both had the same training, just at different branches of Panavision. And people didn't doubt that he knew X, Y, and Z when it came to the department. Whereas with me, if I step on and you're new, they want to talk to me like this is my first time on set without even really interviewing me to see where I came from, what shows, who I may have worked for. Where I feel like sometimes if I was a white boy, they go, okay, hey, what show are you on? Oh, my buddy's on that show. Whereas in me, they treat you like they're doing you a favor just from allowing you to be there without even truly interviewing you and even knowing your experience.
Yeah, just because, I mean, having now really talked to you about your experience, you seem way more qualified than a lot of the loaders. The loaders? I mean, that's the lowest position in, like, you are such an asset to any camera department because of your knowledge. And I feel like, you know, it's usually like a PA that's, like we were talking about Spielberg and Colin Trevorrow and like how like he saw himself in this young guy and let me give you an opportunity. And that's kind of, you know, typically how that goes.
And I've had good opportunities from that, from like if there's ever been a beat and the boss has asked me, hey, like, what's your end goal? Because this ain't it. And I'm like, and we talk about, they brought me along like the ride-alongs to see the tech scouts and
That's
to
great.
put the good word in. Opportunities have come from it. It's just, I guess, a matter of patience, knowing that if you putting the work in, like, it'll come back to you tenfold. It's just a matter of when, not if.
And do you talk about, I mean, do you let people know that that's what you want? Good.
Like, talking about balancing that.
Yeah.
I don't do it unsolicited. I do come in, just focus on my work. And then when people start to notice, like, okay, you're more than just that, and they talk to me about it, then I do let them in on, like, what the end goal is.
See, but this is what I'm getting at, though. You are obviously doing something different than most of the loaders are doing. What do you think that is?
Just number one, appearances. When I walk into set, I feel like I'm unapologetic about who I am.
Okay.
I don't have to play straight. I don't have to straighten my hair. I don't have to do these things because I just am who I am, just matter of fact.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's certain things you may not think are quote unquote like militant or revolutionary. Some people may say, okay, well, this kid honestly, like, it's not gonna apologize for X, Y, and Z, like even down to like my accent, like, I'm not gonna clean up for you. Just gotta understand it, because I gotta understand you. You gotta understand me.
Yeah.
We're speaking the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're speaking the same filmic language here.
Yeah.
And then making sure, like with Village, some loaders and utilities just pass their little wireless. They give you picture, and then you never see them again. Me, I'm old school. If I pass by you, it's like how my grandma say, if you walk into a room, the elder, you're gonna say good morning first. I always say my good mornings. I always say my how are yous, and we talk. Now, some people in camera may not like that, but it's worked out for me for the bigger picture. So it's just a matter of just getting to know people that you're working with, and not thinking too much into the culture of hierarchy about how some people don't even talk to the PAs.
Right.
They only want to smooth with a certain producer because they want this job, and I don't think like that works out in the bigger
PA
picture.
could be Matthew Cherry.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Right.
Just the way they come up. That's same with like the way I see myself is like, right now I'm really enjoying camera department. I still am enjoying witnessing the aspect of cinematography on that level. I'm still finding value in playing my part in camera, but at the same time I feel like there's so much more I could be learning from a production aspect that I don't want to seem quote unquote distracted from what I'm doing in camera, because it's really cool how we tell the story from this side of the lens, but what about from the other side? Because like how my mother says, two sides of the same coin.
That's awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for
so
having
much
me.
for being here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was our conversation with Jenise Whitehead. Jenise is a digital utility and film loader and has worked on several shows, including Insecure on HBO. That's where we met. And thank you again for listening to Sister Brunch with Fanshen Cox and me, Anya Adams, this week. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Shout out to Christabel and Zia Bwadi, who's our executive producer. She's the one with the British accent who interrupts us from time to time. Our show producer and all-around social media queen is Brittany Turner. We'll be back next Tuesday, so look out for us then. Don't forget to subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your podcasts. Visit our website, we're at sisterbrunch.com, and follow us on Twitter at sisterbrunch, on Instagram at sisterbrunch podcast, and on Facebook at Sister Brunch Podcast. See you next week.